So here's your icebreaker question to get you started for today. What is your favorite kind of work? What is your favorite kind of work? And also, what work do you like the least? What kind of work do you like the least? Talk about that with your group. And when you're ready to dive into the scriptures, you can press play to continue. We're outside, and I'm showing the lawn out here because I just got the lawn mowed, and you can see the swimming pool in the background there. Our grandson David is visiting, um, and he enjoys playing out in the little pool. And the grass was getting kind of long. Tracy wanted to have the grass mowed, so um, I went ahead and did that so that he could play out and not have bumblebees that come with those little white flowers, because we had a bunch of those around the yard. And so I got the lawn mowed today, and I actually like working outside. I like mowing the lawn. That's something that I enjoy. Uh, Even under normal circumstances, I kind of imagine myself tending the garden, if you will, when I do that. But today was really special because I knew I was serving Tracy and serving Amanda, my daughter, and David, and getting things set up so that David could enjoy the playing in the pool without the bumblebees. And so the work that I did served them. It's interesting when you look at what we're talking about here, which is having life to the full, an abundant life. And the aspect of it that we're talking about this week is work. Adam was placed in the Garden of Eden to tend it or to work it. In fact, there's several translations there: to cultivate it, to dress it, to till it. A lot of different translations of that Hebrew word. When you dive into the Hebrew word, what you find is that word is used to talk about work, but many times that word throughout the Old Testament is translated serve, and it kind of messes with us to think about the idea of work being service all the time. But just with this particular example here, all of a sudden mowing the lawn is serving my wife, serving my daughter, and serving my grandson. What I'd like for you to do is to just look at this passage and the different translations that are here, um, and which do you prefer in terms of the translations that you find in the Bible of this passage? Um, which term do you think is a term that helps you to understand this idea of work as a good thing? And and then what do you think about the idea of translating as serve? Um, so to serve the ground, serve God by tilling the ground or working the ground. Just bat that around a little bit with your group and start thinking about the idea of work as service. And does that change your picture of work? When you're done having that discussion, you can go ahead and press play, and we'll continue on to the next set of scriptures. Adam was placed in the garden to tend it, to work it, to till it, to cultivate it, to do the things that would keep the garden healthy and growing and so forth. And so what that tells us is that work is good, um, which is not normally what we think about when we think about the Bible. We oftentimes jump forward one chapter to Genesis chapter 3, where Adam has now eaten the forbidden fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when he does that, God punishes him in the short term, as well as letting him know that he's going to die in the long term. But the punishment in the short term has to do with work. And it depends on the translation again. So, like the one translation I have here says, you will struggle to scratch a living from the ground. Um, In another translation, in toil you will eat of the ground all the days of your life. What you find in the Hebrew word there, and I just gave you a little bit of the background there, is the root word that's being used is one that talks about worry or worrisome. In other words, you will till the ground with worry. Uh, Gee, is it going to produce fruit? Is it going to give me enough food? Will I have enough food to eat? Uh, Worry is added in to the mix of work. And when worry gets added into the mix, that's when things go south, when it is bad. It is considered a curse because all of a sudden we're not confident in God's provision. Suddenly we're in a place where we're wondering, is it going to be enough food for me and my wife, in the case of Adam and Eve, and then the kids when they finally end up with children as well. And so worry is the part that gets added in there. So I just want you to read that passage and talk about that question. What is it like when worry gets added into work? Work is good, gives us a sense of purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, but then work plus worry, all of a sudden, well, talk about what that's like. And then go into the next passage that I give you to look up in your own Bible, which is a parable from Jesus where he points out that really we don't need to worry. God doesn't actually want us to worry, that is a temptation, and it is a temptation that is fruitless. It doesn't do us any good to worry. And so read that parable and talk about that. Why is that parable saying that it's useless for us to worry? And yeah, then when you're done with that, then you can go ahead on to the next section by pressing play on the video. If you read that parable, it's actually from Luke's account, and he goes on. It actually fits together with the next passage that you're getting ready to read here. And this next passage, Jesus really ends up explaining the meaning of the parable and why he considers worry unnecessary, and not only unnecessary, but something that we should be throwing away. He tells us straight out, do not worry. And then he goes on into details. When he finishes up here at the end of this passage, he says what we should do instead of worrying. And so I just want you to read this, seek that out. What does Jesus say about worry and worrying about provision, worrying about our work? And then what does he say we should do instead? What should we seek instead? And how does that take away the worry part of work so that work is good, it is a blessing, it gives us that sense of purpose without the negative side effects? Read that, talk about that, and then this is the last segment, so you can finish up by going to a time of prayer where you pray for one another. Pray for one another in that work that you have in your day. Recognize that work is not talking about go away someplace to earn a living. It can talk about that, but work in this sense is raising our children. It's mowing the lawn, doing the dishes, and so take the time to pray for one another that we will find purpose that is a God-given purpose in the work that we do each day, without the side effects that come from worry. Pray for one another that the worry part will go away and that we'll see the work as a blessing and receive that as something that we get to do each day from God as a gift. Know that I'm praying for you, that you will experience the joy that comes from doing your God-given purpose each day. And I ask you to pray for me and my family as well, that all of us will enjoy walking together with God in this part of our lives. God bless.